Oops.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Sigma Nu Tau webinar, where we are featuring 5 wildly successful entrepreneurs who are going to share with you how they achieved their success tonight. So thank you for joining us. We hope we have students and faculty and other entrepreneurs from across the US joining us tonight. And we're going to be introducing our guest panelists, but first, I would like to tell you a little bit about Sigma Nu Tau, and then Dr. Raul De Joux is going to introduce the other panelists tonight. So Sigma Nu Tau was developed and started in 2009 at the State University of New York at Plattsburgh. We had a Department of Marketing and Entrepreneurship, and we had an honor society for our marketing students and nothing for our entrepreneurship students. And so we researched and saw there was nothing, and we started the honor society here at SUNY Plattsburgh. And since 2009, we have grown, and at the end of this semester, we'll have over 40 chapters in more than 20 states. And our membership is closing in on 2,500 members. So we're very proud of that. And we offer our members a video pitch competition, a scholarship program, and we have an outstanding awards, chapter awards program for our chapters. So at this point, I would like to tell you also that we will be offering 6 door prizes, or awarding 6 door prizes at the end of the webinar tonight. And there'll be a special announcement about a competition for students and others who would like to compete. So we'll talk more about that a little later. So it's going to be my pleasure right now to introduce Dr. Raul De Joux. He has quite an interesting and successful background. He's a native of Cuba and migrated to the US in his early teens at quite a difficult time in history. And since coming to the US, he didn't take the easy way out. He earned degrees in math and physics, and then he went on to earn his PhD in geosciences and hydrology from New Mexico Institute of Technology. And at the tender age of 25, he had his first book published. It was on regional hydrology fundamentals. And since then, he's gone on to publish 7 books and 200 peer-reviewed articles. And one of his books, We Got Mojo, will be, well, 3 of those will be given as door prizes tonight. Dr. De Joux has also served in executive positions at the top corporate level as CEO, COO, and division president. He's quite a brilliant businessman. He's a senior partner at Bright Star Capital Partners, and it's a New York-based private equity partnership. He's been involved in over $5 billion of equity capital being monetized through various liquidity options. He really knows how to pick winners in business. But what's even more impressive is that Raul is such a great humanitarian and philanthropist. He serves on our Sigma Nu Tau board, but he's also actively promoted entrepreneurship for veterans, people of color, indigenous people, women, and Latinos through his innovative activities with nonprofits, his educational efforts, and his mentoring. And his philanthropic efforts also benefit hospitals and colleges. And most of all, he's a great teacher and motivator and mentor. And you're going to see tonight some of his former students and friends who are wildly successful. So I'd like to turn the program over now to Dr. Raul De Joux, who will introduce the panelists. Raul?
Well, you're too kind, Nancy, and we have known each other for quite a number of years. In fact, when this entrepreneurship class was done, not online, but in person, I believe we were number 11 or 12th chapter, and you now have nearly tripled that. So congrats to Sigma Nu Tau.
Thank you.
Let me tell you a little bit about the course. And this course was created as a free online program using Curriki Studio, which is a wonderful organization started by Scott McFeely, and Abby is the CEO, and she's wonderful. And this is a powerful tool. We've added interactive elements courtesy of Curriki, and we've put this in 8 modules. This class was started not online, but I will tell you about some students that have succeeded. These are typical MBA students, non-MBA students, all the above. And I have to tell you what I'm most proud is that a lot of these students, the majority of these students have been very successful, and you'll see some at the end. The program is free, and it's basically 8 modules. You can go to dejoucourse.com, and it will directly take you into the class, and then you're registered. There's no charges, and we don't sell mailing lists or anything like that. The first module, What Matters Now, also has something different. This is not just about me talking about things. This is about me as well as authors and others. So in module 1, you have Tony Robbins and Gary Hamel, who are experts on how to become a principal entrepreneur. What the heck is important as an entrepreneur? Module 2 deals with Blue Oceans. Blue Oceans is totally an innovative company. The classic example of that is Yellowtail, the cheapest wine you can buy at any CVS or Walgreens. It's not a drug, but it's a wine. And we'll teach you how to make your company different. Module 3 takes you step by step to building a business plan. And module 4, we wanted to figure out how to build your dream team. And one of the most dream teams ever is what Steve Jobs put together when people told him he wasn't going to be able to make it. And he did. And so we took some archival material from Steve Jobs and included it to teach you from the master. Not to be left behind, module 5 is how to create product excellence. And we have Jeff Bezos doing that. One of the key companies that has the best service of any company in the world is Marriott. We took Bill Marriott to teach you how to provide service. Module 7 has to do with a financial plan. This is the boring part, but we try to do accounting in a way that everybody could understand it. And as it turns out, of the over 100,000 users of this thing that we've had, this one gets the most kudos. Because we try to simplify it so anybody could be an accountant. And Last, we're teaching you how to get money. What are the sources of money? And let's face it, Elon Musk has been very successful. I mean, Tesla is worth more than Ford Motor Company today, and he's raised all the money. So getting the money for your ventures by Elon Musk might help you. So what has happened with this class? Well, I'm going to just pick on two. They happen to be veterans who have successfully formed major businesses. And yes, the first one is an African-American female. She's a retired military officer. She was a senior officer, but she founded Shoulder Up Technology Acquisition Corp. She founded Extreme Solutions. The company that she founded did a SPAC, which is a special purpose company, to basically launch it in a market, one of the markets. And she rang the bell of the New York Stock Exchange with her own company. She has raised close to $1 billion. Yeah, billion with a B. And this is somebody that started at the bottom. She's the first woman to win an Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year award in technology, and the first African-American female CEO to take a company public. And it's the Athena Technology Acquisition. And she is, I'm proud to say, my student. I had to pick a guy too, because we want to have equal opportunity here. Tom Dyerling, again, one of my students. He is a CEO of Thundercat Technology, a logistics company. Graduated from West Point. He was an airborne ranger in the Middle East. He was in the war in Iraq, and he basically wasn't supposed to walk. He's done running, not walking. He's done all kinds of things, had extensive rehab, wonderful family man, took the program, and his company has done billions of dollars of work. It's ironic and interesting to me that my student over here, when it lists the companies that do the most work with the government, is right behind AT&T. That's a big accomplishment, Tom, and we're proud of it. And so you can be one of these. And I just picked two. We got hundreds of them. The course has helped thousands of entrepreneurs create successful companies, not just big companies, but successful, satisfying companies. And all you have to do is go to DejuCourse.com. I showed you pictures of some of the hundreds of students that did it in person. Now we're looking at the tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of students that will do it online. And you may be one of them. So with that, I'm yielding back to you, Abby.
Thank you, Dr. De Joux. Well, hi, everybody. My name is Abby Ross. I am the CEO of Curriki, and we are a free and open source technology that helped Dr. De Joux bring his course online. I always tease him a little bit. When we first met, he had sent us an email of YouTube video links of what this course was. And with the help of our excellent learning designer and the tools that we have available that is free and open source in Curriki, we were able to take his course and create something dynamic and interactive. And that's really the purpose of Curriki. We are a nonprofit, 10 years old, and it's our goal to make sure that great educational content is free and open and dynamic and interactive. So if and when you go to DejuCourse.com, you'll see that his course might be a little bit different from, just a static lesson plan. Through 50 different interactive activity types, mobile optimization, and the ability for us to create lessons in playlists, it turns static content into something really dynamic and interactive, so that you can submit your coursework, you can download a business plan, and you can interact with the videos instead of just passively sitting and watching. So that's, Curriki is really passionate about supporting budding entrepreneurs and doing that by scaling great content from great creators like Dr. De Joux. So we really appreciate this opportunity to support Sigma Nu Tau and, access to great content and curriculum.
Well, we're now going to hear from the panel, which is the reason we're all here. And I'm going to randomly start with you, Erica. Erica is the most dynamic entrepreneur that I've had for a student. She recently headed the Afghan relocation, which is not a small endeavor. She is in the reserves, so she went back because the country is the most important thing to her and the family. And she is going to tell you a little bit about creating business opportunities. And I'm going to throw a question at her. So my question to you, Erica, is, you graduated first in your class as a cadet. You were a scout. You were a pilot. You are a pilot. And you've been recalled working with Afghan refugees. Rather than remaining in the military for your career, what brought you into the corporate world? And most important, how do you advocate for women veterans as a civilian?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. De Joux. I guess I will just start by saying that, like most women, we're kind of complicated and have many buckets that we need to feed. So one of those buckets for me is, wearing a uniform. And I did have a 7-year break in service, did 11 years, and post 9/11 deployments and 2 baby boys, decided that maybe I need to make a career change at this particular moment in life, because I didn't feel as invincible as previous, to having children. So for those 7 years, I got an MBA and tried to figure out what corporate America is like and transition to normal life, whatever that meant. And through that process, people kept coming to me and they had said, "Hey, Erica, you used to work in charge of all logistics and contracts as a staff officer. How do I do business with the government?" So the universe was speaking to me. The questions kept coming. So I started my first consultancy in 2008, and within a year had clients all over the country, every kind of industry. Worked with them for probably a good year on positioning and contracts and messaging, and really, really enjoyed it. Learned a ton about, industry out there besides military. So, the small business piece is definitely part of who I am, but I did join the reserves 7 years later because I felt like I had something to offer. They had just opened up the ban for all women to serve in combat roles, which I've been there, done that. So it was good for them to hear from someone who had that account firsthand. And it's since 2013, I've been at the Pentagon working on women, peace, and security policy, which shaped DoD and including a gender perspective in the way that we do our operations and our planning and our strategy and our policy. Again, just got the chance to work with, as a Command Action Group OIC officer in charge, to deal with women, mostly the women population, considering women and children were about 65%, and what was missing and what the Army was not paying attention to with that population. So, and then through my journey, I've been involved in advocacy too. So again, many hats. It wasn't like I chose military over corporate over small business. They all have just sort of merged for me, and I'm able to do multiple things, and I'm grateful. I would not have thought of the Army Reserves as a career, but now I'm a lieutenant colonel, and it's as long as it's interesting and I'm able to give back, I'll continue that while still running a small business. So thank you.
And Erica, I consider you my friend, and I know we're friends in the family, and one of her son is a pilot now. So let me introduce another one of the wonderful women that we got in here, and a lonely guy. Marcia and I have known each other for a lot of years. She's helped me create businesses in Mexico. She's created businesses in India. She's created a lot of businesses dealing with international financing major aircraft for foreign airlines and domestic airlines. And she's also a groundbreaker regarding equality for both women and men. And I recollect you and I having lunch at the Metropolitan Club and other places that were mostly, if not totally, men to start with. And I'm very proud of you, very proud of what we've accomplished together. But Marcia, I wanted to ask you a pretty open-ended question. Like John, you are a lawyer, but you've chosen to focus on international businesses and policy, and you've helped some overseas entities be successful. And if I recall, Harvard Business School even did a case study from one of these enterprises. So could you tell us a little bit about how you see entrepreneurship and how you see what you have been able to accomplish?
Thanks, Raul, very much. I think the evolution that I've seen in my own practice, my own life, has some similarities to Erica, noticing things and then responding to them. And so I got a job a long time ago with the US government agency, then called OPIC, the Overseas Private Investment Corporation. And I found that I was really committed to its mission. And its mission is international economic development, the development of both the economies and the societies of developing countries. And I found the best way to do that was, I thought, I still do think, through the private sector. So the projects that I get involved in as a lawyer, I play a significant role in structuring them. So the difference between the finance person on the project and me, the lawyer on the project, overlaps at a certain point because I've done this for such a long time and have taught international project finance and investment at Georgetown University Law Center, my alma mater, and for the last 20 years at Johns Hopkins SAIS, School of Advanced International Studies, to, in the first case at Georgetown, to lawyers, and in the SAIS case to non-lawyers. So I find I'm committed to the idea, and as a result of that, I've had a great opportunity to do a lot of interesting projects, including the ones you highlighted.
And Marcia actually worked with me on a number of projects, including some projects in Mexico, where we actually worked with a former public official and all kinds of things. And it's been, again, a wonderful professional relationship as well as a friend. And Marcia's been in my house, and we love to have her. Let me switch to a guy now, since John, you and I are the lonely souls here, but John was one of my first students. There's nobody more creative, more resourceful, more dedicated than John. And he created a company called Bar Graders initially, which was intended to help people who wanted to pass the bar exam. But he's also been involved creating all kinds of other enterprises. And he never says no. He's always energetic, and he really thrives on helping entrepreneurs. So, John, can you talk a little bit about your entrepreneurial efforts, and how did you come up with the idea of Bar Graders, and how did you make it successful, and where else have you gone?
Sure. Thank you, Dr. De Joux, for having me on the panel, and thank you to my co-panelists. I'm really honored to be sitting on the panel as the lonely guy here with such strong women leaders and entrepreneurs. So thank you. So for context for the audience, I was in Dr. De Joux's inaugural class. And I guess I was the experiment, or one of the first 5 experiments of Dr. De Joux. And there have since been thousands of graduates. So Dr. De Joux, thank you. You made a great impact, because that impact actually flows down to our communities. And as the world gets smaller through technology and innovation, I think that point is really important. Some of the lessons that you've taught in your courses, especially, for example, being a steward as an entrepreneur to the community, and really thinking about, as you create your ideas and implement your ideas, thinking about how those ideas potentially impact not others in your community, because technology is really making the world a lot smaller place. So just for my background, I am an attorney. So I see Marsha's background there. I really love that legal library. So I took some of the lessons learned that Marsha and I learned in law school, and also in practice. And as folks started to innovate around technology and the world got smaller, the world got more regulated, and more laws and regulations were very challenging to keep up with for many companies. And data started growing in an exponential way. So identifying those things and leveraging some of my background experience, I was able to find opportunities in innovating around automating compliance for enterprises. And so those are some of the companies that I'm involved in today. But as Dr. De Joux referenced, I also started a company around helping law students pass the very challenging California State Bar exam. So that's my background, and I'm again thankful for you having me on this panel.
Well, and John and I have looked at all kinds of companies. He's been involved with other ventures, including places to put people to work together. And we've looked at a lot of activities, and I'm sure we'll look at a lot more. Finally, the last member of this panel that I haven't talked to, Snezna. Snezna is probably the smartest bioscientist I have ever dealt with. And I couldn't be prouder because she is not only a scientist, she's also a human being. Her assistant happens to have a PhD that came from studying under Snezna, and she's completing her MD degree. And this lady has worked, I believe you have what, 12 patents on drugs? I mean, this is phenomenal. This is not the norm. The average person in biochemistry, and I researched this for you, has 1.5 to 2 patents. You ain't over yet. You got 12. And most significant, number of years back, her and I were talking. I have my toys here, Snezna, and we were talking about SARS, when the SARS epidemic happened. And she developed a substance called mycodellins. Mycodellins beats SARS viruses. It basically kills 99% of them. And so here's something, it's a wipe for SARS. It's a wipe for COVID-19. This is available today at your local places, or it's available online. This one does the same thing, but it's a mouth spray. So if you think COVID is going to come through your mouth, which it does, here's a spray. There's another one. I don't happen to have them here because I use it and it's in my briefcase. And, it's a nose drops. So she's very practical and very deep and smart as can be. And she's only just begun. So I'm going to ask you, Snezna, you and Dr. Danielle Turner, your assistant, you've done a lot of research and development, including the mycodellins to fight SARS. How do you budget your time when working on so many projects? And how do you balance work and fun? And If you haven't noticed, she's sitting in her office and there's plants everywhere. What suggestions do you have for entrepreneurs to pick teammates, coworkers? And how do you balance it all? You're muted. You're muted, Stenson.
Thank you. I am now unmuted and will repeat what I just said, which is I am honored by your description and I'm honored to be on this panel. Thank you very, very much. I do think of myself as a scientist and I do have a number of patents for better or worse. But I'm still growing my first pair of entrepreneurial shoes, and I will definitely have to take your course in order to make those patents to a reality, bring them to the patients. Your questions are excellent, and I would love to be able to answer them, but I don't really know how to. I will tell you that I'm hearing themes resonating among us, and those themes are evolution and synergy, and personal evolution of what we perceive as worthwhile investing our one life into, and synergy among the many things that we've done in our life. Each and every one of you alluded to that. I myself was trained as a scientist and spent 30 years do what scientists do, trying to understand how nature does things. But the last decade, I've turned more into application of that knowledge, figuring out how we could use nature's tools in order to address human problems. I spent all those years studying cancer and studying infectious disease from bacteria, drug-resistant bacteria, fungi, parasites, designing biosensors to detect diseases so that we can respond to them properly. But it was only over this last decade and with significant input of Dr. Danielle Turner, whom I call now my associate, even though she started with me as a 19-year-old girl earning her bachelor's degree. It's now 10 years later, and she's one of the most impressive scientists I know, and my friend and my colleague. And, you asked, how does one pick colleagues? How does one, particularly, I suppose, in my context, how does one pick students that you want to support to become scientists? And truth be told, I never picked anybody. They picked themselves. They showed interest, whether it was science or biomedical type engineering, and they got involved. And that is what I found inspiring, and that created that synergy between individuals, which always accounts for moving forward, for accomplishing stuff. At this point, I've had hundreds of students go through my lab and graduated more than 40 master's students, and Dr. Turner, the one PhD. And all of them have gone further to do something with their lives. And so, exploration and innovation and discovery in an academic milieu is always a win-win situation, because somebody's always learning something and they're going to benefit and make their own impact. And I don't need to tell you that because you have accomplished 1,000 times more the very same way.
Now that we've asked you some pretty deep questions, let me ask all of you some quick questions for a 30-second answer. John, who are the people that most influence you?
You for sure also had growing up some very great mentors. So you can never underestimate the people you meet at any stage of your life. And some of the mentors that I met started even in childhood, another in college, and then of course in my professional life with you, Dr. Deju.
Erica, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I would say friends throughout life, my kids, family, and, looking at professional mentors are definitely one. I'm so glad and honored to call you a mentor on the business side of the house and a friend. And I have several mentors on the military side. Never have been women, unfortunately, because we've been blazing trails and sometimes there's just nobody in front of us. So I'm happy to take men. You guys have been amazing, but it's time for some women mentors, and I'm not sure if that's going to happen. So now I find myself passing the torch.
Erica, were you a pilot in the jungle?
That's funny. Boy, how that story morphed. No, my mother worked in the rainforest with indigenous tribes in Ecuador in the jungle. So, listening to the scientist, and I could totally understand, nature and what that provides and how, drugs are deriving from those particular
There's a
plant
reason I
organisms.
asked the question the way I asked it, because I know your mother, who has been all over Ecuador and other places, and she is just a strong woman too. So you have a model at all.
Oh, absolutely. She was my biggest from a little girl on, but yeah, so many influences, still continue to be.
Great. And I think one of your influences now is your older boy.
Both of them, anybody with children, they're so different. They keep me on my toes. I learn something every day, and I've learned to be a better person, more patient. So yeah, I'm grateful for them.
And Marcia, were you surprised by anything in your journey through life and as an entrepreneur and influencing others?
Surprised. I think there's surprises every day. For example, for 20 years, I was a partner in a very large international law firm. And when I retired and sent out my letters to clients asking what they wanted me to do with their files, I was surprised that a number of the big ones said they wanted me to continue with their projects. And so that's how I became an entrepreneur in law, although, and John can, I'm sure, appreciate this, when you're a partner in a law firm, you are an entrepreneur. You're doing the work, you're getting the clients, you're doing all of that. In my firm, my little boutique firm, I've gone from a 2,500 lawyer law firm to a 8 lawyer law firm, but it's my firm, and all but one of the lawyers in the firm are my former students. So surprise, yes, that things can open up, opportunities can open up when you least expect them to.
How about you, John? You're a lawyer too.
The question being, what has surprised me? Is that
Yeah, in your journey.
in my journey? I think just taking that leap, right? So for me, it was 100% truth here. It is, I'd never been to Chicago before. I was turning a certain milestone age. I was working in the law and just not loving it. And I quit the law, went to go see the Cubs, and made the leap to start a company, and haven't looked back since. So what's in you? Could be what surprised you, could be what's in you.
The path is very circuitous. I could have wound up being a professor. I have been teaching, but I started little companies. And then it was big companies. And I started a company that we took public in 1981. That company is a multi-billion-dollar company today. And so you never know what path and where it's going to lead you. But if you're an entrepreneur, take chances. Take smart chances. Let me ask a different question to all of you guys. What do you at this stage in your career, in your life, want to do to help others become entrepreneurs? And let me start with you, Marcia.
So obviously, Raul, as you know, being a teacher gives you exposure, gives you the opportunity to be a mentor on so many different levels to your students. And I always start the first day of the semester by telling students they can call me, contact me for anything about the class, about the material, or about their careers or life. And so over the years, I've guided, mentored different students, sometimes toward entrepreneurialism, sometimes in other directions. But I think it is students.
Great. Snesna, how about you? You know, you have students and, how do you help them? What
I have students. I also have colleagues, and being at a small STEM university, which only 7 years ago declared the intent of promoting entrepreneurship, the situation may be a bit unusual. We are about 60–70% of our departments are engineering departments, from mechanical to explosives and chemical engineering. So lots of applied stuff. And the rest are scientists. And so for many of our classes, right, we have sort of projects just for regular classes, even undergraduate classes. There are projects to accomplish something. And of course, for oral masters and PhD theses, there are projects. And up until recently, those things really were never taken further to completion, to application. And so about 7 years ago, the university declared the intent in its strategic plan to incorporate entrepreneurship into its science, technology, mathematics, engineering, and science program. And I suppose what I've done is sat on the committees and persuaded that was a worthwhile thing to do. And then since then, not just contributed with our own discoveries, but also encouraged colleagues and students to declare their discoveries or applications to our technology transfer office and write it up as a disclosure of an invention, and that has moved forward now.
That's great. And in fact, as you know, you work in my alma mater, and all of the entrepreneurship class that you see here now was initially taped at New Mexico Tech, and I'm very proud of them. But most important, this is a university where for years, a lot of their scholarships came from one invention, an entrepreneur that donated the nicotine patch. For 18 years, most of the scholarships in that university came from the nicotine patch. So, again, the universities can benefit from discoveries by their faculty and students. Erica, what do you do to help entrepreneurs, both in the military, and I know your kids are kind of entrepreneurial.
Yeah, I would approach this answer in 2 ways. So there's the tactical piece where I've been involved with those one-on-one interactions, really connecting with people. I've been a global sustainable business plan judge, trying to foster that type of mentality and, business ownership. But then over time, I learned that legislation and policy has a huge effect. So I'm a commissioner on the California Commission on the Status of Women and Girls. So I represent a lot of that small business entrepreneurship voice, as well as a board chair of a group that was a national veteran organization that focused on entrepreneurship. So I think it's important, and I have learned to be able to get dirty, boots on ground, tactical one-on-one, to keep you in the mix, but also how can I influence change at a higher level? So that's kind of where I'm at.
Great. Now, let me go a different. Let's look at the future. Let's take a second and each of us look at the future. What does the future hold for entrepreneurship, and what are things that our country, our universities, our institutions need to do to foster entrepreneurship some more? John, you want to start?
That's a big question, Raul, and you put me on the spot, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're used to that.
Yeah, so I think Snezza made a really interesting point about students making a choice. And I think that really ties to, one of the lessons in your program, Dr. De Joux, is passion. Entrepreneurs really having passion. And so I think, the future will never change with regards to that, right? They're entrepreneurs. When they make that choice and they make a smart choice to move forward, is to have that passion. So that will be my answer.
Nancy, I'm going to ask you the same question. I know you're not on the panel, but you're here. So, and you unmute, please. Unmute.
Yeah, got it. Okay, so yeah, well, ask the question again, just so I can have a second to come up with an answer.
What do you see the future of entrepreneurship?
Yeah.
Where are we headed, and how can we help others?
Yeah. Well, here at SUNY Plattsburgh, we have some great students that we're working with now. And I think the more you can offer students outside the classroom is critical, but it's the competitions. Today, we went on a field trip to a company called Norsk Titanium that does 3D printing with titanium for airplane parts. So things like that, open your eyes to completely new things. So we want to bring in more guest speakers to the campus. We want the students to have more internships. So it's the experiential side of things that really makes everything click and stick better with the students, I think, and build their confidence. That being online in classes is not as good as being in person and actually being able to go out and meet with people and work with people face to face.
Erica, any thoughts? Where's the future?
Well, my opinion is definitely the tax system and the burdens are much more favorable, of course, to giant corporations. Small businesses are the heart and soul of this country. I mean, we make up over 98% of businesses and the majority of the revenue and the majority of jobs. So we've got to do a better job at not overburdening companies that have under 10 people, which is, again, the absolute majority of small businesses in this country, with exorbitant taxes, employment laws, employment taxes, IRS, they keep coming after small businesses, every other year for audits. So, I don't know what that looks like, but if we continue to squeeze them with mandates to provide life insurance, et cetera, health insurance, and you can't pay your bills, you can't stay in business. So we need to give a little bit more breaks to the small business owners.
Marcia?
So actually, I'm very interested in Erica's response, because As a small business owner, I'm impacted by taxation and regulations, and they are burdensome. But I'm also attracted to what she said before about policy and how you have to elevate your transfer of information and knowledge about entrepreneurialism from the individual level up to the policy level. And as I think about the future of our country, and since I travel and do a lot of international business, the US has always been a beacon to me of opportunity, business opportunity, the opportunity to start your own business. When I compare it with a country like India that I've done a lot of business in, and I know the red tape, they invented the term red tape. I want to avoid over-regulation, but at the same time, right now, the Supreme Court is looking at the question of environmental regulations. And does the president have the authority to impose certain environmental regulations? The last thing in the world I would want to do is have business be totally unregulated. There's a happy medium someplace between the robber barons, the Sherman Act trusts, and the Mrs. Fields making chocolate chip cookies and putting them in a box in her kitchen. So we have to hit that right balance for the environment, for equality, for diversity, and yet for the ability of small business owners to make a profit.
Snezna, you want to take a minute and give the last comment there?
Thank you. I'm afraid, just starting out to be an entrepreneur, I hardly know where the entrepreneurial future goes, but I am aware of the challenges that one faces when one is just making that transition from, I have an idea and I think I can do it if I get the right kind of a support. So, in terms of encouraging the younger generations, and I mean really young ones, that is something that would be great to expose them to. It's, you can do it and then sort of steep them as they grow older and have truly contributions to make, from technical to ethical, to then have the proper regulation and the policy that continues to support them in a
As
productive.
a moderator, I'm going to answer that question from my vantage point, and then I'm going to close and pass it on to Abby. But I truly became an entrepreneur the moment I landed in the United States. And I was 4 days shy of my 14th birthday, or I wouldn't have been able to come, because that's the way the government of Cuba regulated that. And when I landed in here, and you're a kid, my parents are 90 miles apart, but really a universe apart. You have to learn survival skills. You learn survival skills in the military, Erica. I had to learn it on my own. And the one thing that I want to say is that this country is full of people willing to help each other. That's not the case everywhere in the world. And so look at the sky is a limit. And the person that influenced me when I came here gave me a book. I am very much into equality. This book was written at a time when equality did not exist. And so it doesn't say a man and a woman, it says a man. But a man's road, and this is what it said, should exceed his dreams, or what are the heavens for? I would say a man, a woman, a human being should exceed his dreams or what are the heavens for. We need to try because we learn as much from failure as we learn from success. And you guys are all successful. I've been successful, thank God, to a lot of people and to failing, because failing teaches you what not to do. And I'm going to yield to Abby now. I am supposed to be doing that at exactly this time. So, Abby, it's all yours. I also want to emphasize that you can find the elevator pitch lesson in module 2 of the class. And you will need that if you are going to submit an elevator pitch.
Yeah, Nancy, do you feel comfortable kind of telling people about this opportunity that is so great for Sigma Nu Tau?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Yes. So all of you who are attending the webinar tonight, we invite you to take the Deju course at dejucourse.com and especially the elevator pitch lesson in module 2, because who wouldn't want to make their elevator pitch even better? So that would be the first thing. But then you're invited to enter our hot pitches competition. So you can enter it in one of two ways. You can either make up a up to 5 minute video of your pitch, or you can send in a 2-page typed pitch. And then Dr. De Joux is going to pick the 20 best ones. They will be assigned a mentor, and you'll get mentoring by phone with very high-powered people. And then I believe you'll have a chance to improve your pitch. And then the top 10 will be selected to present on Zoom in like a Shark Tank type pitch competition. And the top 3 are going to get some funding. So this is so exciting. And, we don't know how many entries we'll get, but I think your chances of winning something will be quite excellent. So you will need to send in your pitch by May 1st, 11:59 p.m. at night, and you'll do it right in the course module. There'll be a place for you to enter your pitch. And so if you have questions, you can, you see on screen, there is an email address for Dr. De Joux that you can send your questions to, or you can always send them to me if you would like. So this is such an outstanding opportunity for the students who are attending. And I believe we also will make it available to students who will go online and who couldn't make it tonight, and who go online and will view tonight's webinar. And once they view it, then they're eligible to enter the pitch competition as well.
Thank you, Nancy.
Yes, thank you.
And I recognize in this process the help of Abby Ross at Curriki and her team who helped design the class, and the help of my assistant, Sage McRae, who would, this would not be as slick as it is if it weren't for her. And I want to thank all the members of the team here today, John, Marcia, Nancy, Snesna, Erica, for being here, and we look forward to having people succeed.
Yes.
Thank you, Dr. De Joux. We, I think Sage is here to tell us a bit about the door prize winners, which is a book, We Got Mojo from Dr. De Joux, and some Sigma Nu Tau card holders. We also do have a question that came in for the panelists. So Sage, why don't you announce the winners, and then we can roll into that Q&A question if folks have the appetite to stay a minute longer here.
Excellent. I am happy to announce that our 3 winners of Dr. De Joux's We Got Mojo book are Vladimir Perry, Latoya Holmes, and Juana Moore. Now, we do ask that you send your mailing address to Nancy Church. Her email is right there. In case anyone is not in the US though, I have a few backup winners, so let us know. And for our 3 business card holders with the logo of Sigma Nu Tau would be David Machow, sorry if I mispronounced your name, Danielle Turner, I picked these randomly, I promise, and Oscar Saldivar. Our backup winners would be Gerald Efo and Buzz Vibert.
And all the books will be signed.
Yes, by Dr. Deju. Thank you so much. And for anyone who has some time, we have a question that came in from Bud Weisbert. The question is, well, first, there's some comment from him, such a great group of panelists and such great information. A critical question for the future of business growth in our society is what differentiates business from entrepreneurship? In other words, how is the process of being entrepreneurial different from being a business owner? And I'll leave that open to anyone.
I'll take that one. I'll start it.
Very good.
So I think entrepreneurship is a state of mind. A business owner could be mundane, day to day, kind of wearing many different hats. I think many of us, if we see a problem, we want to fix it. We want to solve it. And then through that, if you want to start another business, which I think, many of us, I've been involved in 3, it's a matter of differentiating yourself, keeping it very simple. Tell me what you're going to do to change what the problem set is. And so your mindset is always that way, speaking with friends and colleagues versus just, again, running the operations of a business.
Anybody else? John?
Yeah, I think that's right. And I think, I see business as having many stages in its lifetime, and entrepreneurs being at the very beginning of that life cycle. And then, as you move along, you'll understand in yourself whether or not you're one to operationalize your business. And if you are, then, maybe you can continue down that path, or perhaps you find a partner down the path to help you do that.
And to give you some ideas here, my first business that I took was a company that was called IT Corporation. IT Corporation had a couple of little businesses in California, but at the same time as IT started, the world started to change because you had EPA trying to identify all these sites all over the country that were contaminated, and they needed somebody to clean it up. So we took an opportunity. We saw that this was needed, and the big companies, Bechtel and others in the United States, were in the Middle East building refineries. So IT went public as a little company that I think the second year of operations did almost 700 million. And because it was the opportunity. So vision. And of course, everybody told me you couldn't do it.
Look at you now.
We're here among friends.
Well, thank you all so much for a fantastic panel, great discussion, and a lot of sage wisdom and advice here.
Good comment.
Yes, well, we will have this recording available and we'll be sending it out to attendees and look forward to hearing pitches and feedback on Dr. Dejoux's course. Have a great evening, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.